The afternoon was cold, and a thin layer of wind swept through the city park, carrying the faint smell of fallen leaves and damp concrete. A teenage boy wandered down one of the empty paths, his clothes old and torn, shoes that had seen better days making soft squeaks on the pavement. His hands were rough and dirty from a week spent trying to survive without a home, moving from one place to another. He had learned to be careful, to avoid trouble, but today curiosity pulled him in a direction he normally wouldn't go. Near the edge of the park, a motorcycle glinted in the dull autumn sunlight. It was a large bike, polished chrome and black metal that gleamed as if it had been made yesterday. The boy had seen bikes before, of course, but nothing like this. It was powerful, commanding, and it drew him closer like a magnet. He stepped carefully, trying not to make a sound. He reached out just a finger to touch the smooth surface, imagining what it would feel like to ride something so strong. Before he could even feel the metal, a voice boomed behind him, sharp and full of anger. "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" The boy froze. He turned slowly, his heart pounding. Standing behind him was a man whose presence filled the space like a storm. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a leather vest with patches that marked him as part of a notorious biker gang. His hair was dark, long, and slightly wild, and his eyes were hard, sharp, the kind of eyes that made people stop and think twice before speaking. The boy's first instinct was to run, but his legs felt like stone. I didn't mean any harm," the boy stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. I just wanted to look at your bike." The biker's gaze didn't soften. He stepped closer, the ground vibrating slightly under his heavy boots. "Just look, huh? You touched it. You could have scratched it. You could have ruined it." His voice was low but carried a dangerous weight. "Do you know how much this costs?" The boy swallowed hard, trying to keep his voice steady. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. Really, I didn't mean anything." The biker's eyes didn't blink. He looked the boy up and down, from the tips of his worn-out shoes to the strands of hair falling into his tired eyes. For a moment, there was silence, the kind that felt heavy and thick. The boy thought he was going to get yelled at even more, maybe shoved, maybe worse. His chest tightened and he looked away, ashamed. He had touched someone else's world by accident, and now he felt like a criminal. The man crouched down slowly, keeping his eyes on the boy. "You're not from around here, are you?" he asked quietly. There was no anger in his tone now, just a sharp curiosity. The boy shook his head. "No, yes. He faltered, unsure of what to say. I don't have a home. I've been moving, trying to find a place to sleep." The biker nodded slowly. "I see, you're trying to survive. That's tough." His voice softened slightly, though his eyes still held that hard edge. The boy looked up, surprised. He hadn't expected any understanding. Most people saw him and turned away, some even sneered. But this man, intimidating as he was, didn't push him away. He just looked, studied, as if weighing the boy's worth. The boy tried to explain. "I just wanted to see the bike. It's beautiful. I've never seen one like it up close." The biker let out a short laugh, almost a grunt. "Beautiful, huh?" He stood up and circled the bike, inspecting it carefully. The boy watched, noticing the way the man's hands moved over the chrome, checking every detail. There was a skill in the way he handled it, a care that went beyond anger. The boy felt a mix of fear and fascination, seeing how someone could be so powerful and yet so precise. "You know," the man said after a moment, "when I was your age, I was curious too. I got into a lot of trouble just trying to see things I shouldn't have. You could say curiosity runs in the blood of people who don't have much. Makes you see the world differently." The boy's eyes widened. No one ever spoke to him like that. No one ever spoke to him at all. Most people just passed by, pretending he didn't exist. Here was a man who could scare him in a heartbeat, but instead he was talking, explaining something real. The boy nodded, though he didn't have the words to respond. His throat felt tight and his hands, still slightly hovering near the bike, shook. The biker crouched again, this time closer to the bike. He muttered to himself about scratches, dings, and maintenance. The boy watched as the man reached into a small kit strapped to the side of the motorcycle. Tools clinked against each other as he took them out, holding them like extensions of his own hands. With careful, deliberate movements, he began tending to the bike, polishing a scratch here, tightening a bolt there. The boy stepped closer, drawn by the sudden change. The man's anger seemed to have melted, replaced by concentration and care. He wasn't just fixing a bike. He was performing a ritual, a dance of expertise and devotion. Every motion was precise, every glance measured. The boy couldn't help but imagine what it would feel like to know something so well, to have that level of skill and confidence. "You ever work with tools before?" the man asked without looking up. His voice was calm now, almost gentle. "No, not really," the boy replied softly. "I mean, I've tried fixing things, but I don't know much." The biker nodded, understanding in his eyes. "That's okay. Not everyone gets to learn. But you watch and you remember. That's how it starts." The boy watched every movement, memorizing the way the man handled the wrench, the way he polished the chrome to a shine that reflected the sky above. He noticed the patience, the focus, the pride in taking care of something valuable. It was a lesson without words, a lesson in respect, responsibility, and care. The boy felt a spark of something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope, maybe, or inspiration. It was strange to feel so small next to someone so imposing, yet feel connected in a way he couldn't explain. The biker stood up finally, brushing his hands on a rag. He looked at the boy and nodded. "See that? That's how you take care of things you care about. Not just bikes, anything. You put in the work, you respect it, and it'll last. You get that?" The boy nodded vigorously. "Yes, I understand." "Good," the man said. "And remember, curiosity is not always a bad thing. It's what makes you see the world. Just be careful where you touch." The boy smiled slightly, a small flicker of gratitude in his tired eyes. He felt something he hadn't felt in months, seen, acknowledged, even respected. The man, with all his rough edges and intimidating presence, had given him a brief but powerful lesson, something that would stay with him far longer than the cold or the hunger he faced every day. The biker packed his tools back, checked the bike one last time, and stepped back. The boy took a deep breath, realizing that what could have been a frightening encounter turned into something remarkable. He had touched someone else's world, and instead of punishment, he had witnessed skill, patience, and understanding. He felt a mixture of awe and relief, grateful for the unexpected turn of events. As the man mounted the bike, the boy stayed on the sidewalk, watching the engine roar to life. It was powerful, commanding, a sound that echoed in the park and in the boy's mind. The biker's eyes met his for a brief moment, a silent acknowledgement of the connection they had shared. Then with a final nod, the man drove away, leaving the boy alone with the lingering warmth of human kindness in the cold autumn afternoon. The boy stayed in the park long after the roar of the motorcycle had faded. He couldn't stop thinking about what had just happened. The encounter replayed in his mind like a scene from a movie, and he wondered how someone so intimidating could turn from anger to patience so quickly. It didn't make sense, yet it felt real, raw, and full of life. He sat on a low stone bench near the path, pulling his worn jacket tighter around his thin frame. The wind was colder now, but he hardly noticed. His mind was busy, churning with thoughts and questions. He had never felt someone truly notice him before, beyond the pitying looks or quick glances people gave when passing him by. Most adults just ignored him, pretending he didn't exist, as if invisibility was the only way to survive in the world. But this man, this biker, had looked at him, really looked at him. He had seen more than just a homeless teenager. He had seen curiosity, potential, maybe even a little spark of courage. It was strange, almost unsettling, but it made the boy feel alive in a way that hunger and cold had dulled. The boy thought about the bike. He had always dreamed of riding one, feeling the wind rush past him, the road stretching endlessly ahead. But dreams felt far away when your life was spent scavenging for food, avoiding trouble, and moving from one hiding place to another. Yet today, that dream felt closer, not because he would ride that motorcycle, but because he had touched it, and the man hadn't punished him. That small interaction made the world seem a little less harsh, a little more possible. As he sat there trying to sort his thoughts, he noticed people walking by in the park. Couples holding hands, children running and laughing, old men feeding birds. Life went on, ordinary and rhythmic, while his own life felt suspended in that moment with the biker. He realized he had spent so long surviving that he rarely paused to watch life, to notice beauty or movement. Today that had changed, just slightly, because of one brief encounter. The boy remembered the way the biker had crouched down to check the scratches, how carefully he had handled each tool. There was something mesmerizing about it. Each motion was deliberate, precise, almost like a dance he had never seen before. The boy had watched every detail, trying to memorize the way the biker worked. He thought about the patience, the skill, the focus, and he wondered if anyone had ever told the biker he was talented, that people admired his skill. Maybe it didn't matter. Maybe he was just used to people fearing him, and that had been enough. A question formed in the boy's mind. Why had the biker helped him? Why had he not just yelled and walked away? He replayed the biker's words about curiosity, about respect, about putting in the work to care for something. It wasn't just about the bike. It was about life, about how to handle it, how to treat it, and how to treat others. The boy felt a strange warmth, as if a small seed had been planted inside him, something fragile but alive. He looked around and noticed another boy, not much younger than him, sitting on the grass with a small bag of belongings. The boy waved slightly, and he realized that there were others like him, children and teens surviving in the margins of the city, learning to be invisible. It was a harsh life, one that demanded quick thinking and careful movements, and yet, moments like today made it seem like there might be something more than just survival. Maybe there was learning, maybe there was growth, maybe there was respect and understanding from unexpected people. The boy decided he wanted to learn more. He wanted to understand the world the biker came from, even if just a little. He thought about approaching him, asking questions, asking for advice. But he knew better than to assume he would have time or patience for a homeless kid. So instead he watched from a distance, hoping that if paths crossed again he would be ready. He wanted to see more than just anger and fear. He wanted to see skill, patience, and maybe kindness. As the sun began to dip lower in the sky, the boy remembered his stomach growling. Hunger was a constant companion, a reminder that life was not easy, that survival came first. But even with hunger pressing, he felt something different inside, something that pushed past the immediate needs. Inspiration, maybe, or curiosity. He realized that the biker had not only fixed the bike, but had also opened a window into a different way of being. One that balanced power and patience, strength and care. The boy wandered through the park, heading toward a small corner where he sometimes found leftover food or tossed away snacks. He thought about the biker's words again. Respect, responsibility, care. It sounded simple, but he knew it wasn't. Life had not been simple for him. Every day had been a struggle. Yet somehow those words seemed achievable, almost like a challenge. Could he carry them with him? Could he act with care, even when the world didn't give him much to hold on to? He walked past the benches, past the playground, noticing small details he usually ignored. The way leaves swirled in the wind, the rough texture of tree bark, the distant sound of laughter. Life felt fuller, richer, more textured, and it was all because of a brief encounter with someone who had seemed impossible to approach. The boy understood now that life was about more than just surviving. It was about noticing, learning, and taking small steps to be better, even in difficult circumstances. A thought came to him. Maybe he could try to help others too, even in small ways. Maybe he could share what he had learned from watching the biker, teaching other kids to be careful, to pay attention, to act with respect. Even in his own difficult world, he could make a difference, no matter how small. The idea filled him with a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in a long time. For the first time in months, he felt like he could do something meaningful, something beyond simply existing. He reached a quiet corner of the park, away from the main paths, and sat down against a tree. The shadows grew longer, and the chill of the evening began to settle in. But the boy felt a strange warmth inside, as if the memory of the biker and the motorcycle had wrapped around him like a protective cloak. He thought about the roar of the engine, the shine of the chrome, the careful hands of the man who had turned anger into care. It was a powerful memory, one that reminded him that people could be more than they seemed, that even someone feared by many could have wisdom and kindness. As night approached, the boy wrapped himself tighter in his jacket and pulled his thin blanket closer. He thought about tomorrow, about what he might do, about the small ways he could carry the lessons he had learned. He felt a quiet determination settle in his chest. Life would still be hard, hunger would still press, and the world would still be unkind at times. But he had seen something extraordinary today, something that showed him a glimpse of what was possible. And that glimpse was enough to keep him moving forward. He drifted into a light sleep on the bench, dreams filled with motorcycles, shining chrome, and hands working carefully. The lessons of the day lingered, shaping his thoughts even in the quiet of the night. He imagined himself strong, patient, careful, and respected. For the first time in a long time, he believed that maybe, just maybe, he could find his own place in the world, one small step at a time. The next day, the boy returned to the park, though he didn't know why. He found himself walking the same path, tracing the places where he had watched the biker repair the motorcycle. It was as if the memory had planted a seed inside him, one that refused to stay dormant. He wandered slowly, taking in the sounds and sights of the park. Birds chirped in the early morning light, leaves rustled gently in the breeze, and the distant hum of the city reached his ears like a quiet reminder that life went on, regardless of his struggles. As he neared the edge of the park, he noticed the motorcycle again, parked in exactly the same spot. The boy froze. It gleamed in the sunlight, shining brighter than he remembered. He could see the perfect polish on the chrome, the tight screws, the careful alignment of every part. His eyes widened and he couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. It was more than a machine. It was a symbol of skill, patience, and dedication, and it was all because of the biker he had met the day before. The biker appeared from around a corner, walking toward the motorcycle with that same calm, measured stride. His leather vest creaked slightly as he moved, and the patches on it glinted in the sunlight. He noticed the boy immediately, and there was a small, almost imperceptible smile on his face. The boy felt a mixture of nervousness and excitement. He wasn't sure if he should approach or stay hidden, but something inside him pushed forward, telling him that this encounter was important. The biker crouched by the motorcycle, just as he had yesterday, and began checking it again. He ran his hands over the chrome, listened to the engine, and adjusted a few minor details. The boy watched silently, fascinated by the precision and care. Every movement was deliberate, every glance measured. It was as if the bike were alive and the biker was speaking to it through his touch. The boy felt a deep respect for this man, who could command fear and admiration in equal measure, yet handled something delicate with such care. After a few moments, the biker looked up and noticed the boy watching him. "You came back," he said quietly. There was no accusation in his voice, only observation. The boy nodded, unable to find the words at first. I wanted to see." "To learn," he said finally. "I want to understand." The biker studied him for a long moment, his eyes sharp yet not unkind. Then he motioned toward the tools beside the motorcycle. "Watch closely. Pay attention. Then maybe you can try one day. But for now, just watch." The boy crouched down a few feet away, his heart pounding with anticipation. He watched as the biker picked up a wrench, tightened a bolt, adjusted a mirror, and polished the chrome. Each movement was purposeful, smooth, and confident. The boy's eyes followed every detail, from the angle of the wrist to the way the man's fingers held each tool. He felt a strange connection, as if he were learning something beyond mechanics. He was learning discipline, patience, and respect for the work he was witnessing. The biker spoke as he worked, explaining what he was doing without directly teaching. "If you rush, you make mistakes. If you don't care, it shows. Every detail matters, even the ones no one notices. That's how you do it right. That's how you gain respect, not just from machines, but from people too." The boy nodded, absorbing the words, though he didn't speak. He felt the weight of them settling into his mind. The advice was simple, but it carried a depth he hadn't encountered before. Life had been about survival, about moving quickly and avoiding danger. But here was a lesson about slowing down, about giving care to what mattered, and about earning respect through effort and attention. The biker paused and wiped his hands on a rag. He looked at the boy and noticed the awe in his eyes. "You've got curiosity," he said. "That's good. It's what keeps you moving, keeps you learning. Don't let anyone take that from you. Even when life hits hard, hold on to it." The boy felt a warmth spread through him. No one had ever said anything like that to him. Most people only saw what he didn't have, what he lacked. But this man, this biker, saw potential, saw the spark inside him, and acknowledged it. The boy felt a shift, a new understanding forming inside him. He wanted to be better, to learn, to take the lessons he had witnessed and apply them in his own life, however small the actions might be. After a while, the biker handed him a small rag. "Here," he said. "Help a little. You don't have to do it perfectly, just try." The boy's hands shook as he took the rag, but he moved closer and began to polish a small section of the chrome. It was difficult. The metal was smooth and cold, and his hands were not used to this kind of work. But he tried, moving carefully, following the biker's example. The man watched him quietly, occasionally offering a word of guidance or a subtle nod of encouragement. The boy felt a sense of pride, small but significant, as he saw the reflection in the chrome start to brighten under his effort. As the sun rose higher, warming the park, the boy realized that this was more than just fixing a bike. It was about learning to care, to focus, and to respect the work he put in. The biker had transformed a frightening encounter into a lesson, a shared experience, and a moment of growth. The boy felt a new confidence building inside him, a sense that he could take these lessons into his own life, even in small ways. The biker finished inspecting the bike and stood up. He looked at the boy and nodded. "Not bad," he said simply. "You've got potential. Keep watching, keep learning. Life is full of opportunities if you pay attention." The boy smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes. He felt seen, understood, and encouraged. The biker's presence, once intimidating, now felt like guidance, a beacon of what was possible when skill, patience, and care combined. The boy knew that he would carry this moment with him, a lesson that extended beyond the park, beyond the bike, and into the way he approached the world. As the biker mounted the motorcycle and rode away, the boy stood for a moment, watching the chrome glint in the sunlight, the engine's roar fading into the distance. He felt a mixture of awe, gratitude, and inspiration. This brief encounter had changed him, giving him a glimpse of a world where effort and respect mattered, where skill and patience were valued. He knew he would not forget it, and he knew that one day, he would try to live by these lessons, however difficult it might be. The boy walked slowly through the park, his steps lighter than they had been in a long time. He thought about the lessons, the patience, the careful movements, and the words of encouragement. He thought about his own life, the small ways he could apply what he had learned, and the spark of hope that had been ignited within him. Life would still be hard and challenges would still come, but he felt a newfound strength. He felt ready to face the world with a little more courage, a little more care, and a little more respect for himself and for the world around him. As he left the park, he looked back one last time, imagining the biker riding down the path, wind rushing past, engine humming, a figure of strength, skill, and unexpected kindness. The boy knew that this was only the beginning of his journey, that the lessons he had witnessed would continue to shape him in ways he could not yet see. But for now he felt grateful, inspired, and alive in a way he hadn't felt in a long time. The boy returned to the park several days later, carrying a small notebook he had found in a trash bin. It was a thin book with a few pages torn out, but he had decided it would be useful to record the lessons he was learning. He walked slowly along the paths, watching the sunlight dance on the fallen leaves, noticing the textures of the trees and the distant sound of people talking and laughing. Each detail seemed sharper, more vivid, as if the world had opened up a little more for him since meeting the biker. As he approached the edge of the park, he saw the motorcycle again, parked in the familiar spot. The boy felt a rush of anticipation mixed with nervousness. The biker was nearby, inspecting the bike with the same care and precision as before. The boy stayed back for a moment, taking a deep breath. He wanted to speak, to ask questions, to learn more, but he wasn't sure how to begin. He felt small, a boy who had nothing, standing in the presence of someone so strong and skilled. The biker noticed him and waved briefly, a simple gesture that made the boy feel acknowledged and welcomed. He stepped closer, keeping his hands in his pockets, and watched as the man moved with confidence around the motorcycle. The sun reflected off the chrome, casting bright glimmers onto the pavement. Every movement of the biker was deliberate, showing both strength and care. The boy felt a sense of awe, realizing that skill like this didn't come from talent alone. It came from practice, patience, and respect for the work. "You came back again," the biker said, his voice calm and steady. There was no accusation, no judgment, only observation. The boy nodded, unsure of what to say. I want to learn," he said finally. "I want to understand how to do things right." The biker studied him for a moment, then motioned toward the bike. "Start by noticing," he said. "Don't rush. Look at how things fit together. Pay attention to the details. That's the first step." The boy crouched nearby, keeping his eyes on the man's hands as they moved over the bike. He watched the way the biker adjusted a mirror, tightened a bolt, and polished the chrome. Each action was precise, careful, and deliberate. The boy realized that the lesson was not just about the bike, it was about life. Attention to detail, patience, and care could make a difference in everything. whether it was a machine, a task, or even a relationship. After a few moments, the biker spoke again. Most people don't notice the little things. They rush, they ignore, they think speed is everything. But speed without care leads to mistakes. Respect the process, respect the work, and respect the people around you. That's how you earn trust and respect. The boy nodded, absorbing every word. It was different from anything he had heard before. He had grown up in a world where survival was the only concern, where rules were ignored and shortcuts were necessary. But now he was learning a different way, one that valued care, skill, and respect. It was difficult to imagine how this could apply to his own life, but he wanted to try. The biker handed him a small cloth. "Here," he said. "Help me polish a section. Don't worry about perfection. Just focus, put your attention into it." The boy's hands shook as he took the cloth, but he leaned closer and began to work on the chrome. It was difficult at first. His fingers were unsteady and the metal was smooth and cold. But he tried, following the biker's example, and gradually he found a rhythm. He noticed how the reflection in the metal became clearer as he worked, how the shine spread under careful motion. A sense of pride grew inside him, small but powerful, as he realized that he could contribute even in a tiny way. The biker watched silently, occasionally offering a nod of encouragement. "Good," he said at one point. "You're learning. Keep going. Every small effort counts." The boy felt a warmth in his chest. No one had ever guided him like this before. No one had ever given him a chance to participate and be acknowledged. He had always been invisible, unnoticed, even ignored. But here was someone who saw him, who valued his effort and who encouraged him to keep trying. It was a strange, powerful feeling, one that made him want to do better, to learn more, and to pay attention to the world around him. As they worked, the biker spoke about life beyond the bike. "Life will test you," he said. "It will push you, challenge you, and sometimes it will seem unfair. But you have to pay attention. You have to respect what you do and the people around you. You have to hold on to your curiosity and your effort even when it's hard." The boy listened intently, realizing that these words applied to his own life, to the struggles he faced every day. Hunger, cold, loneliness, these were the challenges he knew. But now he understood that there was a way to meet them with patience and care, to find strength in small actions, and to build respect for himself and others. The lesson was not easy, but it was powerful. After a while, the biker stood up, stretching his back and wiping his hands on a rag. He looked at the boy and smiled. "You're doing well," he said. "Remember, it's not about rushing or being perfect. It's about effort, attention, and respect. Carry that with you and you'll be surprised at what you can do." The boy felt a surge of gratitude. He wanted to say thank you, but words seemed small compared to the experience. Instead, he nodded, feeling the meaning of the lesson sink deep into his mind. He had learned something that day that went beyond tools, bikes, and chores. He had learned about life, about patience, about respect, and about the power of guidance from someone who believed in him. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the park, the biker packed his tools and prepared to leave. He mounted the motorcycle, the engine roaring to life, and glanced back at the boy. "Keep learning," he said. "Keep paying attention. One day you'll see how far it can take you." The boy watched as the biker rode away, the sound of the engine fading into the distance. He felt a mixture of awe, inspiration, and determination. The encounter had changed him, given him a glimpse of a world where skill, care, and respect mattered. He realized that life could be different, even for someone like him, someone who had always lived on the edges, unseen and unheard. As he walked home, the boy thought about the lessons he had learned. He thought about patience, effort, attention, and respect. He thought about the small actions that could make a big difference, and the ways he could carry these lessons into his own life. He felt a quiet confidence building, a belief that he could face challenges with care and effort, and that he could grow in ways he had never imagined. That night, as he found a place to sleep, the boy opened his notebook and began writing. He recorded the lessons, the observations, and the feelings from the day. He wrote about the biker, the bike, the tools, and the small ways he had contributed. He wrote about patience, respect, and the power of curiosity. And as he wrote, he felt the seed planted in his mind begin to grow, a small, bright hope that one day he could take these lessons and apply them to his life, step by step, effort by effort. The boy woke early that morning, the chill of the autumn air pressing against him, and he felt a strange sense of anticipation. He had spent the previous days thinking about the lessons he had learned from the biker, the patience, the care, and the quiet strength he had witnessed. Today he felt ready for something new, ready to take what he had absorbed and try to apply it in his own life. He picked up his small notebook and stuffed it into his jacket, determined to remember everything. As he approached the park, he noticed the familiar motorcycle parked near the edge. The sun had just risen, casting a golden glow across the pavement. The bike sparkled in the light, shining brighter than he had ever seen it before. And there was the biker, kneeling beside it, checking the details, adjusting the mirrors, polishing the chrome with careful hands. His focus was absolute, a silent concentration that drew the boy in immediately. The boy took a deep breath and stepped closer. "Good morning," he said softly, not wanting to disturb the work but needing to speak. The biker looked up and gave a small nod, acknowledging him without words. The boy felt a surge of confidence, remembering all the lessons he had learned about attention, effort, and respect. He knew today he wanted to be more than just a bystander. He wanted to participate, to contribute in some way. "Would you like to help?" the biker asked, his voice calm and steady. "Not just watch, but try." The boy's eyes widened. He nodded quickly, eager but also nervous. The biker handed him a small cloth and motioned toward the section of chrome that needed polishing. "Take your time. Focus on each movement. Don't rush. Feel it," he instructed. The boy crouched down and began carefully rubbing the metal, watching how the light shifted with every motion. It was difficult at first. His hands were unsteady and the metal was cold and hard, but he persisted, remembering the biker's words from previous days. Patience, attention, respect. Each word felt like a guide, directing him as he worked. Slowly, the reflection in the chrome became clearer, and the boy felt a small spark of pride in his effort. The biker watched silently, occasionally offering a word of encouragement or a subtle nod. "Good," he said at one point. "See? Focus and care make a difference. Even small efforts count. Never underestimate them." The boy nodded, feeling warmth in his chest. No one had ever given him the chance to contribute, to be acknowledged for his effort. He realized that even in the small actions there was meaning, there was growth, and there was the beginning of respect, for himself and for the world around him. He worked diligently, enjoying the rhythm of the motion and the sense of purpose it gave him. After a while, the biker stood and stretched, looking down at the boy. "You're learning well," he said. "Not just about bikes, but about life. Patience, effort, and respect carry over into everything you do. Remember that. Carry it with you." The boy smiled, a real, full smile that felt like it came from deep inside. He had felt small and powerless for so long, always ignored and unseen. But now in the presence of this man, he felt capable, valued, and connected. He understood that life could be challenging, but there were lessons in every action, every detail, every choice. The biker packed up his tools and prepared to leave. "One last thing," he said. "Life will test you. People may not always see your effort. Sometimes you will fail, sometimes you will be overlooked. But if you keep your focus, your patience, and your respect for what you do, it will show. And one day someone will notice, maybe even someone unexpected." The boy listened carefully, understanding the weight of the words. They were not just advice. They were a map for how to navigate life, a way to hold on to strength and dignity even when circumstances were difficult. He felt a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that he could apply these lessons every day, no matter how small the actions might be. As the biker mounted the motorcycle and started the engine, the boy felt a mixture of awe and inspiration. The engine roared to life, a powerful sound that echoed through the park and seemed to reverberate inside him. The biker looked back one last time, giving a small wave, and then rode away, the sunlight glinting off the chrome, leaving a trail of sound and memory behind. The boy stayed for a moment, watching until the motorcycle disappeared from view. Then he turned and walked slowly through the park, feeling the warmth of determination inside him. He knew life would still be hard. That hunger, cold, and uncertainty were constant companions. But now he had something more: lessons, hope, and the understanding that even small efforts could shape his world. He found a quiet corner of the park and opened his notebook. He began to write, capturing every detail of the encounter, every lesson, every feeling. He wrote about patience, attention, effort, respect, and curiosity. He wrote about the biker, the motorcycle, and the way small actions could create meaning and growth. The words flowed, a record of understanding that was becoming part of him. The boy closed his notebook, feeling a sense of completion. He looked around the park, noticing the beauty in the ordinary, the sway of trees in the wind, the laughter of children, the distant hum of the city. Life was still challenging, still unpredictable, but it also held moments of clarity, guidance, and inspiration. He realized that these moments could change him, shape him, and give him strength to continue. As evening approached, the boy walked home slowly, reflecting on the experiences of the past days. He thought about the lessons, the biker's guidance, and the small ways he had participated in something meaningful. He understood that life was not just about surviving, but about noticing, learning, and applying care and effort in every action. He felt a quiet confidence building within him, a belief that he could face the world with patience, skill, and respect. That night, as he found a safe place to rest, the boy thought about the biker, the motorcycle, and the lessons he had learned. He felt grateful for the encounter, for the guidance, and for the opportunity to be part of something greater than himself, even for a brief moment. He knew he would carry these lessons with him, allowing them to shape his actions, his thoughts, and his approach to life. And as he drifted into sleep, he dreamed not just of motorcycles and chrome, but of possibilities, of growth, and of a world where effort, care, and respect could make a difference in ways he had never imagined.